Well, I think this is a most disgraceful day for the National Democratic Congress. This indeed is a day which suggests in very clear terms that the leadership of the National Democratic Congress, not just in Parliament, but at all levels, take their members and their support for granted. Because it was very clear that the base of the National Democratic Congress was dissatisfied with some of the people as ministers. Very clear. And yet, the leadership of the party, its parliamentarians, went ahead and put their fingers in the eyes of their supporters and told them to go to hell. And this is clearly an act of betrayal. I mean, I've always said that, look, in approving ministers or disapproving ministers, the most important thing should be the national interest. Are the ministers competent enough to handle their portfolios or not? And clearly, it is obvious that some of the people who were approved yesterday are not competent enough to handle the portfolios that they have been given. You take the minister who has no idea about the structure of a sector. No idea about the structure of a sector. And yet, NDC people have made it possible for her to become a minister. This is disgraceful. And in fact, they refused to listen to all the warnings which were sounded. In this very studio, I told the leadership of the NDC that if they joke with this process of vetting and approval of ministers, their party would be in jeopardy. I told them in plain language that it will have repercussions for 2024 elections. Who is going to risk his life and vote for you when you are going to betray them in this manner? People died in this election. People died. Some people were injured. Some people will never recover from what they suffered from this election. And then you go to Parliament, and this is how you behave. And you expect those members to come along with you. The NDC has stabbed itself in the eye. Deliberately stabbed itself in the eye. And sitting where I sit, I don't know how the NDC is going to recover from this fatal blow that it has delivered to itself. And look, Kwame, in all honesty, I mean, you know the kind of respect I have for Alhaji Inusa of Husseini. Everybody knows that. I totally disagree with him. The submissions he has made has no basis. The ones he made before and the one he's making today has no basis. Look, in Parliament today, NPP is not in the majority. Go to the Speaker's ruling. The Speaker ruled that there's a majority group in Parliament, not a majority party. Majority group in Parliament. And that majority group has 138 seats. And the so-called minority group has 137 seats. Even if you say, and I have difficulties with the Speaker's ruling, I have serious difficulties with the Speaker's ruling, given the Constitution, the 1992 Constitution, its provisions, and the standing orders of Parliament, I have very serious difficulty with the Speaker's ruling. Because it is clear that independent candidates cannot be acting on a permanent basis in support of one side or the other. They are supposed to be independent. And while their independence is compromised, they should lose their seats. There should be by-elections and so on. And on that basis, I have serious problems with the position taken by the Speaker. But be that as it may, we all allowed it to go and so on. After all, what can we do? You understand? Even working the numbers, how can we, even before the vote has been taken, decide that by all means NPP will win? How? What is the basis for that? Let's say 138, 137. Are we saying that within the New Patriotic Party there are no grievances? There are serious grievances. There are members of Parliament who actually believe that they are as competent and qualified as others who have been made ministers. They've been in Parliament for 3 terms, 2 terms, and so on. They've never been considered. You don't think that they are aggrieved? Why didn't the NDC consider playing with these aggrieved persons in Parliament and so on in order to get a favorable outcome? Now it is clear, if you look at the votes, that some NDC MPs voted for these nominees. Nobody can convince me that NDC MPs did not vote for these nominees.
They voted.
They voted. Now, apart from that, if you are privy to some of the discussions which happened around approval for the nominees and so on, you knew that there was near or almost unanimous disapproval for Madam Hawa Kumsi. So how come that she gets even more votes than Opon Nkrumah? How come? How come? The fact that Hawa Kumsi gets more votes than Opon Nkrumah and Akoto Afriye and so on shows that what happened in Parliament is unwholesome. Clearly unwholesome. I am embarrassed, I'm disgusted by this behavior. And I'm waiting to see which one of these people will have the courage to come to the Ghanaian public and ask for votes. Votes to do what? Votes to go and betray us again? What is this behavior? I'm totally disgusted. And you see, it is significant that this whole demobilization of the NDC base happened just 24 hours before the Supreme Court judgment.
Yeah.
It is all orchestrated. Now, should you disagree with the Supreme Court, the very base that you rely on in order to protest and so on has been disorganized, deliberately disorganized by selfish, ungrateful, misguided leaders. They have done this. It's a shame. It's a shame. And indeed, what has happened should touch every NDC leader at all levels. Look, on the basis of what has happened, two things are possible. On the basis of what has happened, two things are possible. One, that there will be a tsunami within the National Democratic Congress which will sweep aside all the leaders for a new leadership to emerge, or that there will be so much apathy in the National Democratic Congress that the fortunes of the National Democratic Congress will dip seriously. Indeed, watching the National Democratic Congress today, from where I sit, I am even wondering whether they should even go into the 2024 elections. I mean, if the damage is not repaired, it is a waste of time to go into the 2024 elections. Because what has happened is that the very confidence of the people in the party has been shattered. And has been shattered by the party itself, by its leaders. They have shattered the confidence of the people in the National Democratic Congress. This is disgraceful. This is embarrassing. And this must be a lesson in the betrayal of the electorate. Complete betrayal of the electorate. Why do you think that the people of Ghana voted in such a way as to give you half of the seats in Parliament? You think the people of Ghana are foolish? The people of Ghana are not foolish. They gave you those numbers so that you can be effective. It is clear that the people of Ghana are fed up with the situation in which the executive has its way all the time. And that the people wanted a strong parliament which can stand up to the executive. With what has happened, how can you tell me that this parliament can stand up to the executive? They won't stand up to the executive. In any case, one of the issues which is going to come up very, very strongly will be what were the considerations?
Yeah.
What made MPs vote the way they voted? And nobody can come and talk to me about principle. Nobody can come and talk to me about principle as one of the motivations. You approve Hawa Kumsi, who doesn't know the structure of her ministry, and you say it's on principle. Well, what principle is that? What principle is that? Shameful behavior by our leaders. And our leaders are constantly showing us that they have no respect for us. Our leaders are constantly showing us that what we think does not matter. Our leaders are constantly showing us that aspirations do not factor in their calculations. And look, whether they like it or not, this situation will change. It will change very soon. New forces may emerge on our political landscape which will demonstrate to the people that they respect them and that they will do their will. And if those new forces should emerge, we shall sing the requiem mass of the NDC and all the other parties who take the interests of the people for granted. We shall sing their requiem mass. What an embarrassing day. Shameful day.
However, I sense you want to speak again.
I mean, no one can fail to appreciate the angle that my brother, friend, and compatriot Kwesi Pratt is coming from. No one can fail, to appreciate it. And I am simply saying that, yes, there ought to be an explanation. I mean, he said something that has drawn my attention to strategy. I never averted my mind to it. So, did our members of parliament and our party leaders holistically look at the situation and environment in the country? And agree that the votes be taken yesterday? What was the strategy of the NDC in parliament yesterday? And what did the party leadership tell the members of parliament yesterday vis-a-vis the voting processes? What was it necessary to have taken the vote yesterday in view of what is going to happen today? It's very important that in taking decisions, you look at the long-term consequences of the decision.
Absolutely, yeah.
You must think strategically. So that I concede, even up till this morning, that never crossed my mind. Indeed, I must be honest, I didn't even think that the votes will be taken yesterday. It is just in this studio that I started getting information that this was what happened yesterday. NDC will not die. It will rise. We faced this situation before when there was a deliberate, calculated attempt to kill the party after the 2000 elections. That senior minister then, J.H. Mensah, had the confidence and courage to say that after the prosecution of NDC members, which we said was persecution, NDC will cease to exist. It rallied us together. Yes, after every election, NDC will have to renew itself. There will be elections at the branch level. There will be elections at the constituency level. There will be elections at the regional level. And there will be elections at the national level. We will go for presidential primaries. That's the process through which we renew ourselves. As a party, as a social democratic party, in renew ourselves, like he said, we might choose one or two options. We bring in people who we believe will be in touch with the grassroots in taking decisions for the interest and the welfare and general comportment and understanding of the people at the grassroots. Or we repeat the same thing and face the consequences in the future. The choices are ours, but the party, like a phoenix, will rise from its ashes. I can assure you about that.
Mr. Pratt disagrees with you.
Honorable, stop deceiving yourself. Honorable, stop deceiving yourself and face reality. Listen, you spoke about in the past your opponent's attempt to kill your party. That is different. Today what we have is your party and its leaders taking daggers and stabbing themselves through their heart. That's different. NDC has never faced this situation before.
Yes.
This level of betrayal of the membership, of the base of the NDC, has never happened before. You understand? This is a new reality. This one is suicide. The suicidal behavior of NDC, some of NDC members of parliament and the leadership is unpardonable. Clearly unpardonable. Let's stop throwing words around, because those words don't mean anything. Look, I'm not saying that willy-nilly, whoever the president nominates must be rejected. That would be terrible. Because the president can nominate competent people who can handle the ministries and so on. You understand? But here we are, where there's near national consensus that some of the people who were nominated are not fit for the job. And you betray your party, you demobilize your party base and so on, and go and vote like this. And then you think that in 2024, people will line up in the sun and vote for you again. You are deceiving yourself. Look, you do not understand the weight of what has happened. If you take the employees of all your media houses, Radio Gold included and so on, some of them have been unemployed for close to 4 years. Their children have had to drop out of school. They have suffered. Radio Gold employees, I'm in touch with them all the time. They have suffered pain, excruciating pain and so on, because of their loyalty to you people. And this is how you pay them back. This is how you pay all those people who have made sacrifices for you to get to where you are. This is how you pay them back. And you think that they are foolish enough to continue following you and they suffer and you enjoy. What is wrong with you people?
It's early days yet.
It is not early day yet. You have betrayed them. And you think that these people, they can continue to suffer so that you can enjoy. What kind of mentality is that? That you, the leaders, you continue to enjoy, and that your followers should continue to suffer and so on. Look at the people who died during this election. Some of them are breadwinners. The future of their children has been jeopardized forever. You don't think about that. Huh? What are you thinking about? What are you people thinking about? What interest are you pursuing? You have betrayed Ghana and you have betrayed your own political parties. And you should bear the full consequences of your betrayal. And the full consequences of your betrayal would not be pleasant for you people. I can predict that many of the people who have behaved like this, and they are known, they shouldn't think that it's a secret ballot. Everybody knows who did what. Everybody knows who did what. You don't know who did what. Honorable, please. Don't do that to yourself. You don't know who did what. You don't know who compromised. In the discussions, you don't know what positions people took. First of all, you all risk losing your primaries. All of you risk losing your primaries. We will throw you out of your primaries. They will throw you out of your primaries. And even if you manage to win your primaries, you will suffer at the general elections. I want somebody to tell me that only NDC members vote for your party.
No, it's not. We know that it's not only NDC.
Of course, you know that. And you must be punished. In fact, if you are not punished, it will be another betrayal. Those who have done this must be severely punished. If they are not punished, it will be another betrayal. Those who are betrayed, the people of Ghana and their own political party need to suffer some punishment.
So the question.
Now listen, Honorable, listen. You decided to demobilize your base.
Yeah, that one I agree with.
You, without any force, you yourself went into caucus and decided that you are going to demobilize your base 24 hours before judgment in such an important presidential election petition. You went and demobilized your base. You. And what are you telling us? That you rise up again. Rise up where? From where? You will never rise up. There will be no ashes for you to rise up from. You are dead and buried. What is this disgraceful behavior? Come Completely disgraceful behavior, unjustified behavior. Why? You have betrayed your members and all. You know, I've listened to some of the comments this morning.
Yeah.
And I've heard people saying that, oh, even former President John Mahama should not be excused and so on. He has also been betrayed.
How can we ever interpret a situation of a political party that comes from a revolutionary tradition, whose arms are twisted and continue to be twisted, to take away even what is legitimately theirs by any standard of justice? And this requires a lot of thinking. How can we ever interpret a situation of a political party that comes from a revolutionary tradition, whose arms are twisted and continue to be twisted, to take away even what is legitimately theirs by any standard of justice? And this requires a lot of thinking. How can we ever interpret a situation of a political party that comes from a revolutionary tradition, whose arms are twisted and continue to be twisted, to take away even what is legitimately theirs by any standard of justice? And this requires a lot of thinking. How can we ever interpret a situation of a political party that comes from a revolutionary tradition, whose arms are twisted and continue to be twisted, to take away even what is legitimately theirs by any standard of justice? And this requires a lot of thinking. How can we ever interpret a situation of a political party